The salvage yard on Station Helios 9 was a graveyard of forgotten things. Twisted metal hulks from a dozen different species cluttered the massive hangar, each piece telling a story of failure, abandonment, or simply bad luck. Cale Wren had seen it all in his 15 years as a mechanic. Shattered warships, derelict pleasure cruisers, even the occasional escape pod with stories better left unasked, but he had never seen anything like this. The container sat in Bay 7, marked with Drakven glyphs that Cale's translator rendered as biological waste. It had arrived on an automated cargo hauler, one of thousands that passed through the station weekly. Most species didn't bother with proper disposal. They just paid the dumping fee and moved on. Cale had been assigned to process it, expecting the usual: failed genetic experiments, contaminated samples, perhaps some exotic parasite that Drakven had deemed too dangerous to keep. When he cracked open the environmental seal, the smell hit him first: salt and rot and something else, something that reminded him of Earth's ancient oceans. The container's interior was dark, but his helmet light caught movement. Something pale shifted beneath a writhing mass of what looked like barnacles, millions of them, crusted so thick they formed a living armor. Then he heard it, a sound so faint he almost missed it, a wheeze desperate and weak. Cale's heart clenched. Whatever was in there was still alive. He worked quickly, pulling the container into his workshop and sealing the door. His hands moved with practiced efficiency as he set up lights and prepared his tools. The galaxy ran on a simple principle: if it wasn't profitable, it wasn't worth saving. The Drakven had clearly decided this creature wasn't worth the resources to help. But Cale Wren hadn't become a mechanic in the outer stations because he followed galactic principles. As he carefully began removing the outer layers of barnacles, the creature beneath became visible. It was small, no larger than a terrier, with scales that should have been white but were stained gray and brown from neglect. The body was serpentine with vestigial wings folded against its sides. A dragon, a baby dragon. Cale had heard of them, of course. The Drakven Empire bred them for war and prestige, each one worth more than a small planet. But this one was different. Its scales were pure white albino. In Drakven culture, Cale recalled from his research files, albino dragons were considered cursed, defective. They were destroyed at birth. Someone had tried to do exactly that, letting the barnacles slowly suffocate and drain the life from the hatchling. Not on my watch, Cale muttered. The work was painstaking. Each barnacle had to be removed carefully to avoid damaging the delicate scales beneath. Cale worked through the night, his fingers cramping, his back aching. Other mechanics would have called him insane. The station administrator would have ordered the creature destroyed the moment she found out. But Cale had learned long ago that sometimes the right thing and the legal thing weren't the same. As dawn's cycle approached, he finally cleared the last barnacle from the dragon's head. Two eyes, pale gold like captured sunlight, opened and fixed on him. The dragon's breathing was still labored but stronger now. It made a sound, something between a chirp and a growl. Kyle smiled. "Hey there. I'm Cale. Let's get you cleaned up properly." Over the following days, Cale worked in secret. He fashioned a specialized bath using his workshop's chemical tanks, carefully calibrated to match what his research suggested a dragon hatchling needed. He synthesized nutrients from the station's bioprinter, creating a paste that the dragon, Orcs he'd started calling it, after an old Earth myth, could lap up with a forked tongue. The transformation was remarkable. As the barnacles fell away and proper care took hold, Oreth's scales began to gleam like polished pearl. The wings, once crumpled and weak, stretched and strengthened. The dragon grew rapidly, as dragons did, soon reaching the size of a large dog. But it was the bond that surprised Cale most. Oreth followed him everywhere, chirping and nuzzling against his leg while he worked. Dragons were supposed to be proud, aloof creatures that bonded only with Drakven nobility through complex rituals. Yet here was Oreth, an albino reject, showing more loyalty and affection than Cale had seen in most sentient species. The secret couldn't last forever. Station Administrator Velsh, a Zenthari with a nose for regulation violations, eventually discovered Oreth during a surprise inspection. She stood in Kyle's workshop, her four eyes wide with shock, staring at the white dragon that had positioned itself protectively between her and Cale. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Velsh hissed. "That's Drakven property. They'll demand its return and your execution. Then they shouldn't have thrown it away," Kale replied calmly. Orith isn't property. Not anymore. It's not your decision to make. Someone had to make it. Kyle crossed his arms. And apparently, in this entire galaxy full of advanced civilizations, I was the only one who cared enough to try. Velsh's mandibles clicked in agitation, but something in Kale's words made her pause. She looked at Oreth, really looked, at the magnificent creature that had been left to die simply for being different. Humans, she finally said, shaking her head. You're all insane. You know that, right? Any other species would have followed protocol. Maybe that's why the galaxy needs more humans, Kale said quietly. Velsh stared at him for a long moment, then sighed, a surprisingly human gesture she'd picked up from working with Earth traders. I'm going to regret this. The container was listed as processed and disposed of. As far as the official records show, whatever was in it is gone, dead, recycled. Kale felt relief wash over him. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If the Drakvin ever find out. She trailed off, then turned to leave. At the door she paused. That dragon better be worth the paperwork you're going to cause me. As Velsh departed, Kale knelt beside Oreth and scratched behind the dragon's frilled ears. The hatchling purred, a sound like distant thunder. In the cold equations of galactic civilization, Oreth had been nothing. A defect, a waste of resources, something to be discarded. But Kyle Ren had learned something that most species had forgotten in their rush toward efficiency and profit. Value wasn't measured in credits or utility. Sometimes, it was measured in the simple act of caring when no one else would. Oreth spread pale wings and chirped, and Kale laughed. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The human mechanic and the dragon that shouldn't exist. Proof that sometimes the greatest strength wasn't in following the rules. It was in knowing when to break them.